Massive deadly protests erupting in Iran as President Trump sends a warning to Tehran, saying the country is starting to cross the red line. How will the U.S. respond? Aisha Hasni joins us now from the White House with the latest. Good morning, Aisha.
Good morning to you, Charlie. So the president says that Iranian officials actually called him over the weekend, called the White House, trying to negotiate, but it might be too late. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that the president is going to get briefed tomorrow by some briefers on potential responses to Iran, including more sanctions, cyber attacks, and even military strikes. He is not expected to make a final decision immediately, though. The briefers are Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Dan Kane. Now, Trump told reporters on his way back from Mar-a-Lago last night that he is looking at some very strong options.
On Iran, can they cross your red line yet to trigger?
Well, no, they're starting to, it looks like, and there seem to be some people killed that aren't supposed to be killed. These are violent, if you call them leaders, I don't know if they're leaders or just they rule through violence. But we're looking at it very seriously. The military is looking at it, and we're looking at some very strong options. We'll make a determination.
Human rights groups report the regime has already massacred more than 500 people as protesters are defying the Ayatollah's crackdown. And there's an ongoing internet blackout in that country. The president says that he is getting an update. He's being briefed hour by hour, and he's actually meeting with the Secretary of State later this morning. Charlie?
Thank you, Aisha.
You got it.
Let's bring in Hudson Institute Senior Fellow Rebecca Heinrichs. Great to see you this morning, Rebecca. Thank you for joining us. So what do you think are the realistic options that are on the table right now for President Trump? And how effective do you think those options will be?
Well, good morning, Charlie. First of all, I think that when we're talking about this briefing that the president's going to receive on Tuesday that's been reported, our viewers should know that President Trump definitely already has options in mind, and right. He has been regularly briefed by the military about the situation there. So this briefing that's supposed to happen tomorrow might in fact be part of a deception campaign. It would not surprise me if President Trump initiated some kind of U.S. activity to support the protesters before that briefing. But the various things we can do, we can already conduct cyber attacks against regime targets to give some reprieve to the Iranian protesters. We can get Starlink in there with Elon Musk to make sure that the Iranians have the ability to communicate with one another during this blackout on the part of the regime. And the United States can initiate military strikes against IRGC, that's the military wing that's protecting the regime right now. We can conduct strikes against them, or we can go against other military targets, their ballistic missile program, their Iranian nuclear program, again, Charlie, again, as well. So there's various scoped options that the United States could take.
So on the Starlink thing, obviously we're seeing images from Iran that the government doesn't want us to see. And some of that is getting around the blackouts because of some limited Starlink activity. But there is talk of trying to expand that. How does that work exactly?
Well, right now, Charlie, it looks like there's some Starlink devices that are being smuggled into Iran. Right. What the U.S. government can do, though, is to basically get a more robust space-based capability that can cover the whole country, and we might be able to do some countermeasures against what the Iran regime is doing to take out that connectivity of right. satellite. Remember, the Chinese have been backing the Iran regime, so we're starting to notice some technology that seems pretty sophisticated that the Iran regime is using in order to try to counter the Starlink that has right. been smuggled into the country. So the United States is going to have to conduct two things: get those devices in for the Iranians, get it in the air, and then also do some counter cyber strikes against right. the Iran regime.
Right. Okay, I want to turn to this. Cuba remains defiant after President Trump's removal of Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. President Trump posting to Truth Social, there will be no more oil or money going to Cuba. Zero. Strongly suggests they make a deal before it's too late. Cuban president responding thus: Cuba is a free, independent, and sovereign nation. Nobody dictates what we do. Cuba does not attack. It has been attacked by the U.S. for 66 years, and it does not threaten. It prepares, ready to defend the homeland to the last drop of blood. Are Cuba's days numbered?
Well, I think that they are. And, you know, as the Cuban officials continue to mock President Trump and act like these threats aren't serious, or like the United States can't do exactly what he's threatening to do, I mean, they should look at some case studies in history, just recent history, of what President Trump has been willing to do. In 2018, you remember the Iran leader Qasem Soleimani mocked President Trump, and then he was eliminated by U.S. forces in Iraq. And then you saw Maduro, the illegal head of Venezuela, mocked President Trump during President Trump's threats, and then U.S. forces went in and arrested him. And now he sits in a jail in New York City. And so these Cuban officials, I think, should instead look to the Colombian leaders who mocked President Trump and now are changing their tune after seeing what President Trump has done in Venezuela. That would be good advice for the Cubans to take, strike a deal with the United States.